Oh, hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. We're going to work on landscaping again. In particular, we're going to learn how to apply the appropriate material and how to kind of create the appropriate material. I'm not going to show you too much in detail on that. There are examples in the UDN as well as in the actual content browser you can check out. We're going to glimpse at it, talk over it just a bit, but we're not going to go into too much detail on that. So the first thing we're going to need, honestly, is going to be a landscape. We're going to try to create, keep this kind of small. So for the size here, we do 64 by 64. Keep the default properties it gives us and just create the landscape. So we got something moderately sized. And now let's go into the content browser. Let's go ahead and find our material. So let's have materials filtered in. Let's type in landscape. And I'm not too sure if this one was created for UDK within its default information or if I created it. But this is the material that we're going to use in this scenario, so let's double click it. You don't have to have too much going on. It's pretty straightforward. The more important things that you need are going to be the terrain coordinates. So terrain coordinates, these are, so you can just go and filter it, terrain. You have terrain coordinates, terrain switch, and then terrain layer weight, which are going to be over here. So typically, terrain coordinates gives you basically mapping scale. You can change a couple different things on it. You can change, actually how it's spread out, rotation, things like that. And you can also colorize things if you wanted to. So you can have like dark dirt or just a default color dirt. You just multiply it by 1. It's really up to you. So you have your texture samples. So this is a good example of it. So you have your texture sample. You have any kind of colorization that you want. So we'll darken this just a tad bit. So you multiply them, but then they go into basically your terrain layer weight. And as means, basically, you have your different layers. The very first layer, it doesn't have a base, so you just go put whatever you want into the first layer, and then you basically, it's not really multiplying, but you all connect these together. So no base in the first layer. This becomes this one's base for the grass, and then you put in the layer for the grass right here. And then you put that into the base of the rock. Here's your rock, terrain coordinates, everything like that. And you do that for almost every aspect of it. So almost the same idea here, but this is for the normal maps for each layer. And you can also have them going for the specular maps of each one. But we're not going to do specular right now. If anything, for specular, we could just create just a single number. Like that. 1. And as you can see, now it looks kind of wet. So let's go ahead and make it 0.1. Just so it's there, but it's not doing much. Same thing can go for specular power. No, it can't. Let's copy and paste this. Just make this 60 or 30. I'll do 30. Punch that into specular power. And there we go. So something decent, nothing too crazy. You can do as many layers as you want, but you gotta make sure you layer or you name each layer. So dirt, grass, and rock, snow, mountainside, anything like that, because those names are going to be very important for the actual layering aspect in the landscaping tool. So again, just to review, you have your terrain coordinates that goes into the UVs of your texture map. You can do whatever you want to your texture at that point. But the end result for the first layer always has to go into a terrain layer weight as the layer, and then the output of that goes into the base of the next layer, and so on and so forth. And the same thing goes for specular maps if you have those, normal maps, emissive maps, what have you at that point. So let's go ahead and save that material. Now, it should be selected in my content browser. It is right here. So let's left click on the landscape, hit F4 to bring up its properties, and you're going to see right here, landscape material. Just hit the green arrow on that. And now we have our material. Right now it's all white, which is fine. We're going to go into our landscape tool. Scroll down. You see target layers. Right now you see the height map. We're going to click on the edit radio button, and now layer name. So remember we had grass. So punch that in, hit plus, and there's our grass texture. Let me move that for you guys. We also had dirt. Add that. We also have rock. Let's add that. So those three are in here. If you add a name that doesn't exist, let's say for example we have mountain. Hit plus. It's not going to find anything. It's just going to give you a black material. So we're going to X out of that. We only want these three because those are the ones we have in our material. And now in order to paint the landscape, you got to stay in the paint mode. You can't do anything in smooth, flatten, erosion, hydraulic erosion, or anything with noise. You got to stay in the typical paint brush. But then you just left click on whatever layer you want. So let's give this a default dirt layer. And then let's start painting. Let's just give this a default layer here, just to cover everything. And there we go. Here is our dirt. So let's click on height map. And let's go ahead and let's just make a hill. Oops, I chose grass. Let's choose height map. Just create a hill. And then let's flatten it at the top. Just kind of give it a plateau-ish kind of thing. And let's just spread that out to a nice circle. And then we're going to smooth it out. Smooth, 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 smooth. And that's going to be good enough for our purposes. So let's say at the top of this hill we have grass. So paint brush selected, grass selected. And let's turn our intensity of the tool up. And now we have grass. Let's just say we have grass right at the top. And then let's say as the grass is getting into the hillish part, it turns into a rock. Alright, now we have our rock. And then with rock, as soon as it gets towards the end of the ground, it turns back into dirt. So let's change our radio button. Let's have that turn into dirt again. Doesn't have to be too perfect, just because it's an example. So there's our hill. And then, honestly, when it stops being dirt, we kind of have grass again. So let's give it some space. So let's just fill. Let's do the tool strength higher. Just put grass everywhere. True. Lower the brush. Lower the tool strength. Kind of put it where it needs to be at this point. And then we can also, add patches of dirt in. Doesn't have to be anything special. And there you have it. It's pretty straightforward at this point. Just go ahead and just add a light. Oh, or the actual engine can crash at that point. But you guys got the point. All we needed to do was create that landscape and then those materials. So let's just go ahead and open UDK back up and just show you one last time on that. Didn't save anything, but it's whatever. We can create that back relatively simple. Let's open up a new map, blank map. landscape, 64 by 64, create. Let's get a landscape material in here. Just type landscape. The materials highlighted or filtered. Let's see here. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Right here. Got it highlighted, landscape material, punch that in. Let's go back into our landscape tool. Edit. We add grass, dirt, and rock. So let's give it a default of grass, just because that's what we did earlier. Select height map. Let's create a hill. Let's plateau that out so we have a big hill. And then let's smooth it out. Nothing too fancy. And then we had on the cliff sides, we had rock. Nothing fancy. And then we had dirt coming in. Let's lower the tool strength just a tad. Now we have dirt again. Then we can have dirt patches along the way. And there you have it. Landscaping materials. Let's try the light again. Let me first save it as something. Personal underscore landscape material. Boom, save. Let's try this again. Light. Let's make this a directional light, the dominant one. Have some sort of shadow going on. Let's make it relatively bright and sunny. Let's say it's the afternoon, late afternoon. And now we have our scene. So, honestly, it's nothing too extravagant, pretty straightforward. You can do crazy things in the landscape material. You can definitely check out more in the UDN about that. But that's all I'm going to show you for this one, guys. I hope you did learn a lot, but I'll see you next time. Bye.